the Giants just keep making news and keep making moves, Goo.
Yeah, I'm going to go Tom Cruise. Not all the right moves, because the one move that everybody wanted to see him do was judge, and then we know how that ended up. And you know what? At the end of the day, I don't fault him. They put their hat in the on the table. They tried to make a bid. They couldn't land it. And then Correa, I went to bed a few nights, JD, thinking, you know what? Okay, they got something. They closed the deal. But Conforto, who hadn't played, who's injured, and this comes on the heels of you saying to the world here in the Bay Area, the baseball world, medicals concern you. And this guy has missed a season, Jay. And again, it's just, I feel like they're shopping at Walmart. No shade at Walmart, but it's not Nordstrom or Neiman Marcus, where the Dodgers and Padres, who are in your division, that's where they're doing their shopping. So that tells me you don't want to compete, or you're trying to be cheap. And what are you doing with that money that you're saving, cheating the fans that have watched this team their whole life with this rich history?
It's not the best situation by any means, and I think I found myself almost with the announcement, the breaking news this morning, waking up to it again, to Conforto being a Giant, a 2-year deal, 2 and 36, but it's really 1 and 18, I guess. And again, the type of deal that the Giants are the most comfortable with, in that they're hoping Conforto is so good that he opts out and leaves. Like, that's like you're hoping that winds up being a 1-year deal for a really productive player, because if he winds up opting in to the second year of the deal, that means that he had a bad year and you're stuck with him for another year at that point. So it's a player friendly kind of a deal to bring Conforto into the mix. And Taylor Rogers comes over, the lefty reliever who had been with the Twins and the Padres and all of that. He comes over, he joins Tyler Rogers, his brother, and and I'm like, you know what, isn't that cute? Isn't that, like, don't think you're getting cute points for that. Like, don't think that's going to be some story where, you know, I can already see every beat writer and a couple of national writers are going to write about how cute it is that the brothers, the lefty and the righty, are in the same bullpen together. I don't give a rip about that. Like I don't want to hear, like, coming off of the Correa thing, I don't want to hear about how cute it is that you got the lefty and the righty twins pitching in the same bullpen. The debacle that was the Correa situation. And again, Willard, I believe it's Christy, his girlfriend, that conversation they had, like, Jay, do I need to come off my high horse, and do I sound like I'm on one? Because I just can't believe Giant fans have to deal with an organization that doesn't give a rat's behind about them. And that's why I'm so fixated and stuck on the non-presser. And it shocked me to hear you ask Willard, you're Forrest Gump at the bus stop. It seems like you're still waiting for them to call one. Yeah, I mean, at some point they're going to have to talk. And the next time that they talk, it's going to be all about that. Because you caught me. I'm talking about the urgency of, we owe our fans an explanation. Yeah, there wouldn't be. I'm coming around on the notion that there's going to be a press conference specifically to address Correa. Like, I never really thought that was going to be the case. And what we're starting to find now is there may not be any press conferences, period, because they're not going to sign a free agent big enough now that's worthy of a press conference. Like, I guess where I had gotten caught up the last couple of days, Goo, was, well, they're going to sign somebody and then they'll have a press conference with that player. But as they've done with Haniger and Minaya and probably Conforto as well, it'll just be a Zoom with the player. And, you know, we'll see when the next time that the, you know, baseball operations and Farhan have to speak, or will it be, I would imagine that he will be made available in some kind of conference call, probably to the beat writers, to where they, but it that won't. Ain't what you're expecting. Stan, we want to see you talk, answer some questions, take these bullets, and you'll have to take these darts. You may hear the audio from it, you may not. You're probably going to have to read the quotes from it. And honestly, in just the way the media works now, you know, with the baseball writers and all of that, and the beats in particular, I mean, they may end up getting a one-on-one with them. It's, you know, each of them. Jordan versus Burt, remember that game with Commodore 64? Get their little one-on-one with them. But I think what it will probably be is, you know, the beat writers would be cool with that, because they'll be the only ones who get to ask the questions and get the information from it. So that typically when somebody doesn't speak, it would be the beat writers that would be putting the pressure on in this case, Farhan, the front office, to speak to it. So as long as they get theirs, they're not really concerned about everybody else getting theirs, if that makes sense, just from a logistical standpoint. Yeah. So I would imagine that's what it ends up being. Some kind of conference call with the 5 or 6 regular beat writers to where it all gets addressed, and then we'll all read their stories and have them on.
Yeah, and it's just like hearing a song on loop, man, the same one to where, before this free agency jumped off, it leaked or it was said that money ain't a thing. And Giant fans were hoping that they would, be able to get a big fish. And again, even with Judge, JD, I couldn't come in here. I know how baseball is played. What you need, timely hitting, pitching, defense, even with Judge, they still had to kind of shock the world to compete with the Dodgers and Padres. So that's off the table. Enter Correa. You think you have him, and even with him, who is not Judge, MVP, it was going to be hard. Now you're going to war. You're going to battle with duct tape and Gorilla Glue.
Do you think Farhan right now is arrogant enough to believe that this team's actually going to be pretty good and he's going to, in some ways, get the last laugh? Because that was a part of when I woke up to, Taylor Rogers is coming over and Conforto signs his deal. Part of me was thinking, you know what? These aren't on their own horrible moves. But in the context of what the Giants had done this week in Correa and missing out on Judge, it actually made me angrier for the Giant fan base. Yeah. Almost like, he's right back in his comfort zone with the middle, the mid rack, and he's able to pull some clothes off of there and get those deals done. It hit me in a certain way that kind of made me more upset about everything that's happened, that he's just so comfortable back with the middling players and the players on prove-it deals and guys coming off injuries or bad. Because Taylor Rogers signs because Taylor Rogers sucked last year.
Hello?
That's why That's why Conforto,
I laughed when I saw the signing.
Conforto signs because he didn't take an at bat.
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah, but you're worried about medicals. My thing with you, if Farhan's feeling that way, he's neutered to me. And it goes back to when we talked to Bob Myers. He's neutered in the fact that the owner is telling Giant fans, I run this. Okay, I run this. We're doing it my way. Frank Sinatra. So when you talk about Farhan, maybe he's giddy. I can do it. I can do these little things under the radar. But at what expense? At what price, Farhan, did you get your way? If you are happy with these signings and this was your vision, your team, to me, they're not. How better are they? You got the booby prize when it comes to what division you're in. And you're in Robert De Niro, Pacino, and you're Jack Tripper as an actor. That's what you are. You're not going to knock these two teams off, barring a miracle.
Look, it's an awful look. It's not what Farhan wanted by any stretch, and it's embarrassing. I mean, his entire reputation is tied to this. Yeah. Whether it's the ownership's fault, Goo, or not,
no doubt.
His reputation is tied to this. But I guess in separating from that some, I could see him, because remember, the way he looks at the game is numbers. He looks at the game as numbers, production. If this guy hits, if we do this. This was an 81-win team. Like, the Giants are spoken of, and I think Farhan would probably say this, and I hate the fact that I'm almost playing devil's advocate for him, Goo, but I'm going to do it in this sense. People speak of the Giants like they were a 65-win team last year. They were an 81-win team last year. And
it was can I say bad 81?
It was a bad 81. Okay. It was an awful look. It was an uninspired 81. It was a sloppy 81. It was a uninteresting, dull, hard to watch 81.
Yep.
But when you remove yourself from it, I bet Farhan would be like, well, it's 81. So, we make this move, make that move. I think I read where they've spent, Grandy, correct me if I'm wrong, they spent more money than anybody, just top to bottom, or what was the note on the Giants as far as the total spending for this?
The Giants have spent the seventh most money this offseason.
Seventh most.
Mets are still a wide
mile.
Number one.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I thought it was higher than that, but they've spent the seventh most.
Imagine if you were a Met fan right now, just like we know the players got to go out there, execute. They got to go out there and win. But the fact that your owner, your GM is saying, you know what? Give me that Amex card. We're going for it. You know what? We may come up shorthanded. We may not get it done. But the feeling you have when you know that you're not being lied to as a fan base and they're putting their money where their mouth is, that is second to none. And you know who it reminds me of, Jay? I'm sorry. I'm going to keep bringing this man's name up all day, every day as we talk about this, and it's the basketball team here in the Yay. And that is the Golden State Warriors led by Myers and Joe Lacob. I'm sorry if that's how I visualize my team being ran.
Yeah, I mean, they are the standard.
You guys matter. The fans.
Yeah, they are the standard, although, again, you could make the case, not from a financial commitment standpoint, but you could make the case that in some ways the Warriors right now are not listening to the fans because there's a certain percentage of the fan base for the Warriors side of things that would be like, hey, what are we doing with these young guys?
Well, that's after 4 championships,
sure.
Jay, after being
no doubt. Well, the Giants have won 3. The Giants have won 3 in the last decade.
That would be a fat cat, spoiled fan. That wouldn't supersede what Joe Lacob has delivered. Even going to get Kevin Durant after you were already won the chip.
And this group,
that's how I would run my team.
And this group has won nothing. Like, let's be honest, it's different.
Farhan's a genius. What about that? JD's a genius. The farm's going to be so littered with top flight prospects. All that. Like, get out of here. And then, you know what? If we want to keep it real, and Farhan was talking political views and the trash in the city, the owner got his own issues. So, you know, that all that is part of this to me. It's just, I know it's Christmas, just the holiday season, but Jay, it's all foul. How can you be, it's foul.
Here's the other part to it. There will always be, as it relates to Correa, no matter how good the Giants are, there will be the belief that they would be better with Correa. You know, unless Correa is just on the shelf with the specific injury okay. And I'm not even, you know what, maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't. Like, I'm not going to account for that at this point, but to me, it's what's likely going to happen is Correa is going to go have a damn good year with the Mets, and they're going to be a pretty good team in the mix for their division, a playoff team, right? Doing it a different way than they did it with some different players last year. The Mets are going to be good, and Correa is going to be good. I'm going to accept that.
The Mets are already good.
I'm open-minded enough to not sleep on the Giants sneaky being good.
It's baseball.
2 years ago was the extreme version of that. I mean, that team was middle of the pack, and they won 107 games. They were not overly talented. They were extremely lucky in season,
right?
And they ended up having some players for that year that overperformed who they really were. And so I'm not like, but that's the Farhan sweet spot. That's where Farhan thinks that, you know, he can win. Even if the Giants have some version of that this year, the belief will still be, well, you could have had Correa and it could have been 5, 8, 10. You know, you win 85 or 88, let's say with the team you had, it would have been 95. You win 93, it would have been 100. You finish second in the division, you might have won it. You go out in the first round of the playoffs, you might have gone to a league championship series or a World Series. All of that's on the table, and they'll still have to be accountable for that.
That's a great
based
point.
on what Correa does.
And it's interesting you bring up 107. Because to me, JD, that was the last hurrah, almost like Steph, Clay, and Dre. Okay, yeah, you had the Wade Juniors and the Darren Ruffs, but the fan base fell in love with Belt, Posey, and Crawford. And who led that brigade? It was still those guys were making contributions to that team, so the fans were still in love with the last, to me, hurrah element of the big three. And you're getting contributions from guys, you know, people haven't even heard of, but that was where are the new Crawfords, Posies, and Belts?
They're not around. And because they aren't around in the farm system,
pay less, getting guys that didn't even play, and then you don't want to pay, and I keep going here, Jay, you didn't want to pay Gosman because you think you got some type of magic dust to where you can get something off the trash heap, Sanford and Son, and sprinkle some dust on them, get a good year out of them. Then when it's time to pay, you don't want to pay because you think, and you're so arrogant, you can go repeat that. The rent site, you can do it again. And there's no reason to me, Rodon's in New York, except you don't want to pay front office for something that you're getting value from, and Rodon was arguably your best pitcher with him and Webb. Man,
Rodon is exactly Conforto. It was 2-year deal, opt out if the first, and the plan is you hope he's so good and he was, that he opts out and then you don't pay him. Man. That is the Rodon deal is the Conforto deal. It's that version of it. A guy that had some injury
here soon. He'll be gone.
It had some injuries. I think the Giants would like to tell you if he's good, we'll pay him. I think that at some point that was the goal, but they I think have gotten lost in the weeds as far as that goes, and it's worked in conjunction with they haven't brought the young players up to be the new core.
Right.
They're behind schedule. And now, because you're behind schedule, there's more of an emphasis on going and getting a star. Now you've struck out on the stars. I mean, they're reinventing new ways, Guru, to finish second on superstar players.
I don't think they're going to be better than the Diamondbacks. Now, I will sit in the same microphone and tell the people, hey, I got it wrong. They were. But this is my favorite question. Who's the best Giant right now? And I'm going to put a clock onto your answer because
I'm going to need to their best hitter. Their best hitter.
No, their best overall player. And you can't say Logan Webb because he's one of five.
That's what I'm saying.
Everyday
you want me
player.
to say a pitcher? Everyday player. I mean, Wilmer Flores.
That's a great question.
Conforto. I mean, Conforto if he's healthy.
I love Flores, but if you're telling me that's your best player,
who? I mean, I'm being.
Keep going. You can have
Haniger if he's healthy, maybe.
But if
Conforto if he's healthy, maybe.
Who's the Padres' best player?
Jock Peterson, if he's healthy, maybe.
This is a joke.
But he's a hitter only against righties, so he's not playing the whole time.
You know what it is? I watched.
We'll take your pick for the Padres.
Did you watch the HBO Max doc of Willie Mays, Say Hey Kid?
Yes.
And it was just a reminder to me, Jay, real talk, of this rich history, this tradition this organization has when it comes to boppers. And maybe that's why I got caught up in Aaron Judge mania, and I fell for the okie doke. He was from Linden. This was his favorite team. It made sense because the Giants need a giant to roam the outfield, Jay, and knock the ball out the park. Darrell Evans, Jack Clark, Mays, Bonds. But you know what it is now? Oh, we don't have those type of guys. We got projects. And I just man, that's just a turnoff.
No doubt. There's no doubt. And
we're going to go shock the world with our smarts.
They've set this thing up. Again, that goes back to
it
goes back to the changeover. It was, to me, that's the ultimate miscalculation in this from the ownership on down. They believed that the name on the back of the jersey didn't matter. They believed that the only thing that was going to matter was winning. And in a way, I think they kind of, it was disrespect to the fan base. I think in a way they talked down to the fan base, like almost as if, you know what, you guys are so dumb that if we win, it doesn't matter who we put on the field. You're going to support them. No, you're going to fill the ballpark. You're going to, and I think that's how they got in this position to where it was all the scrap heap guys and guys on one-year deals. Now, I think they realized that wasn't going to work, which is why they were going after Judge and going after Correa. But that's not, that's the part. We can blame ownership, and ownership's gotten the blame. We got a lot of people that want to talk about it. We'll get to the phone calls, 888-957-9570. But I still maintain, and this is not a defense of Farhan by any means.
All right, go ahead. Give it to us.
But I still think there's a part of Farhan Zaidi that is, he likes being considered the underdog. Like he likes the lack of expectation. The Giants won 107 games in part because there was no expectation in 2021. Everybody thought they were going to be bad.
But you couldn't
Everybody
sustain
thought they
it.
were going to be right. And why couldn't you sustain it?
That was his job,
because there were expectations last year. Like, I think he likes being the little engine that could. I think that's where he thrives. I think that's where he is his most successful. I think we've reached a point, though, where that may not even be good enough. And the Giants, have set this thing up where they could even be a good team and have that still not be enough for this year to the point where he's got to be shown the door. Or they've also set up the worst case scenario. Like, this thing feels combustible. When you go back to the Alex Pavlovich report, you were talking about your buddy who said, hey, they had to have a Zoom meeting.
He's talking to coaches and players via Zoom.
There were already players in that clubhouse who weren't down with Kapler. The chemistry issues were not what they were in 2022 or in that they were the year before when they were winning all those games. And now you've got, expectation to be good or people are going to be fired. And that's the reality of this thing. If the Giants are mediocre this year, Farhan's done, Kapler's done.
Okay, I'm going to push back on that.
Why?
Because Mr. Johnson is in control.
Well, yeah.
He obviously is telling you he doesn't give a rat's ass about the product or the fan base. Why would he run Farhan out of here? Because to me, he nixed this deal.
Well,
they did the bait and switch. Let's get some street cred. Let's get some credit from the fans. We're supposed to be big spenders, and Farhan comes here and you turn into penny pinchers. Why would Farhan get pushed over the deck by Johnson, who to me with this move and no words from management to tell us what's going on? Why would he even tell Farhan
at that point, and I had to count it on my the pandemic and all that. I was counted on my hand. It would be 5 years, and it would be one playoff, and it would be one winning team in 5 years.
But that's predicated on an owner that cares.
No doubt. But
I don't think that way anymore.
If the Giants were, let's say the Giants go 81-81 again, Goo, should Farhan keep his job?
Should, and if the guy above him is not just Pepe Le Pew,
you can't.
I'm with you. He should be gone.
I would have had a conversation about it if the Correa stuff hadn't happened. Right. I would have been like, what, let's see.
What have you done?
But I'm telling you right now, if the Giants aren't a playoff team, Farhan and Kapler are fired, and Farhan and Kapler should be fired. And the ownership.
I just can't believe
the ownership change and who's the figurehead person and all that. Like, I get it. It's a big part of the equation.
You think they're going to get mid-air? Oh, we got the wrong guy who couldn't get it done? Because to me,
they're going to be
forced
Farhan
to appease the fans.
They're going to be forced to.
The fans that you don't care about, obviously.
The Giants have put themselves on the hot seat. The whole freaking franchise is on the hot seat going into 2023.
If there was a Joe Lacob running the Giants, I would.
Well, there isn't. There isn't, and there isn't going to be.
Right,
and it's a lot harder to change owners than it is to change GMs and managers.
Just real quick. You're talking like there's accountability that Farhan has to answer to. What makes you believe that that's the case?
If you don't perform, you're done. Like, the owner doesn't have to be accountable. Owners never have to be accountable, to be honest, unless they want to. They don't.
Right.
Unless they do something off book that's, personal life or culture, or things like with the Suns owner and stuff like that.